Shalom, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to begin by saying Barakatah, Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakah Kadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone, and salutations to the sincere Akim, pushing this truth in all due diligence and sincerity. Yet further truth that we are the Israelites of the Bible, right? The title of the YouTube video I was watching is Black British. Well, you know what they mean. What they mean when he says Black British, he's talking about Israelites, yeah, a portion of Jake, because we are the so-called blacks, Negroes, and Native Americans, who are actually the true Israelites, Judah all the way down to Issachar. But this individual here did a breakdown of UK wealth, right? And I'll play the first couple of seconds, and you can understand why this is a problem aligned to the scriptures. But the title itself reads, Black British unemployment is a big problem. Here is why. Let me play a bit of this video and I'm going to pull some scriptures out just to validate what I'm saying.
Black Britain is more educated than ever, more represented than ever, more visible than ever. So why is black unemployment in 2026 sitting at the same level as the pandemic? Answer is uncomfortable, and most people are probably going to get it wrong. Over the last 20 years, things have become very repetitive for black British people. A recession hits, the black community gets the blunt end of the stick, and then we are promised a recovery, and we're at the back of the line. It happened in the financial crisis in 2008, and again in COVID in 2020, and again in 2024. But you see, today is not just for me to look at the data, but to also give my opinion on some of the solutions. Because if we don't, the next generation will get the same broken deal that we did. And I've grabbed some data from the ONS, as well as some public research from the Joseph Rowntree Foundations and the TUC. All of this will be linked in the description for those of you that want to do some further digging. Now let's get into it. If I told you in 2012 that 43% of young black British people 16 to 24 years old in the UK were unemployed, you'd say that's pretty high, right? I mean, it sounds pretty high to me. What if I told you by the end of 2020, that number was still hovering around 41.6%, nearly 8 years apart and less than a 2% difference? It's kind of scary that in 8 years, we've made zero progress. You could argue that at these ages, most of the kids are in school, they're studying, so they're not really out there working. But statistically, that is not true. And it cannot be true, actually. And I'll come back to that number a little bit later because it's not a coincidence. It's actually a system. And once you see how it all works and how it's all connected, it will be hard to ignore moving forward. Most people...
But you get the point. Basically, man, Jake are getting the short end of the stick. As per usual, getting put through absolute hell, man. The ringer. Last hired, the first fired, man. Because ultimately, we are under the curses of Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashim Kadash. Deuteronomy 28:15 all the way down to 68, man, explains this. Because our people ultimately disobeyed the Lord, and hence why are still suffering consequences to this day, including the prophets, man. Because the king and the prophets also, man, the whole nation went into captivity. The whole nation are suffering as a result of the curses on us. And ultimately, man, only the Lord, Yahweh, Shai, is going to be able to lift these off us. This is Deuteronomy 28, verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord Yahweh thy God, to observe, to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. So, off the rip, we were told basically, man, as a result of our disobedience, as a result of our shortcomings, man, we were going to basically be overtaken by curses. We were going to suffer, yeah, as a result of our inability to serve the Lord Yahweh Shai righteously, man. And that goes into things like verse 17. Cursed shall be thy basket and thy store. Everything that we put our hand to is just not going to have the same vitality as Esau Edom. There was going to be a curse on our income, man, and our earning ability. Verse 21. The Lord Yahweh shall make the pestilence cleave unto thee, until he have consumed thee from off the land, whither thou goest to possess it. So even illness and sickness was going to affect us differently than the other nations. The Lord Yahweh shall smite thee with a consumption and with a fever, and with an inflammation, and with an extreme burning, and with the sword, and with the blasting, and with the mildew, and they shall pursue thee until thou perish. I mean, Jake are known for conditions such as gout, getting conditions such as gout, prostate cancer, sickle cell. The sickle cell hits Jake in a different type of level where blood cells are just not getting being produced in the way that they should be and shaping up in weird crescent type shapes, causing all sorts of blood clots and issues. Our enemies, every nation comes against us and has a nickname for us, man. Exhibiting their hate. Verse 25, the Lord Yahweh, Deuteronomy 28:25, the Lord Yahweh shall cause thee to be smitten before thine enemies. In contrast to how the Lord had the enemies historically running away from us, on this side, we're suffering, man, at their expense. Thou shalt go out one way against them and flee 7 ways before them. And thou shalt be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth. They're scattered everywhere. Hence why brothers are in all sorts of different regions. Some brothers are in the west coast of Africa right now to this day, man. And verse 29. And thou shalt grope at noonday, as the blind gropeth in darkness. And thou shalt not prosper in thy ways. And thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore. And no man shall save thee. And it just goes on and on and on and on and on. Verse 36, the Lord Yahweh shall bring thee and thy king, which thou shalt set over thee. And ultimately, the king ultimately of Israel was King David. But all of our leaders, man, even under that, unto a nation, whither thou nor thy fathers have known. And there thou shalt serve other gods, wood and stone. So even the Lord told us, listen, you're going to lose your way and go into idol worship in these foreign lands, man. Verse 43, the stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, the heathen. And thou shalt come down very low. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. Yeah, basically, we're going to go to our enemies, especially in this time with Esau Edom ruling to this devil and the one of all things, man. Thou shalt serve thine, verse 48, thine enemies, which the Lord Yahweh shall send against thee in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. Slavery, right? And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. And Jacob's still fucked to this day. Here in London, companies like the Lloyds of London, the Barclays, and all of these other organizations that funded their enterprise of slavery are still existing to this day, man. The Lord shall bring, verse 49, a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, right? As swift as the eagle flies. America was their emblem, the eagle. A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of old, nor show favor to the young. They basically not give a fuck about anybody. Destroy with no compassion. You see what they did recently in Iran, where they bombed that school with a tomahawk, and Trump was not trying to take ownership. Even with this tension with Iran, historically, America during the time when Bush, I think it was Bush Jr., was one of the deputy president, whatever the title is, but not the president, but one level beneath the deputy president. Escapes my memory at a minute. But when the little Bush, who was the offspring of the big Bush devil, was the deputy president, vice president. I said was the vice president of America. They shut down an Iranian passenger jet, right? And this ain't even Jake. This is heathen. Just to show you the mentality of Esau Edom when the scripture says that he'll show no favor to the person of old nor the young. Fucking Bush said, yeah. So what? I don't care what the facts say. I'm not apologizing for America and what they did. These people don't give a fuck. Yeah, and these are the heathen that are above us. Verse 52, and he shall besiege thee in all thy gates, unto all thy high fenced walls, and until thy high and fenced walls come down, wherein thou trusteth thou throughout all thy land. And he shall besiege thee in all thy gates throughout all the land, which the Lord Yahweh thy God hath given thee. Yeah, the woman going against us, the tender and delicate man going against his brethren. Moreover, he will bring upon thee all the diseases of Egypt which thou wast afraid of, and they shall cleave unto thee. So even the hell that the Egyptians went through at our expense during the time when Marshal Moses was going to come onto us, man. It's a heavy list of curses. Verse 64, and the Lord Yahweh shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even to the unto the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. And among these nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest. But the Lord Yahweh shall give thee a trembling heart, and failing of eyes, and sorrow of mind. Look at that. And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt have fear day and night, and shalt have none assurance of thy life. In the morning thou shalt say, would Yahweh it were even, like I wish the Lord would bring the evening in. And at the even thou shalt say, would Yahweh it were morning. Whew. For the fear of thine heart wherewith thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes which thou shalt see, is hell, man. Just gonna go through hell. And the Lord Yahweh shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, captivity again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. No man will redeem us. So basically, hell, 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 man, is what we were going to suffer. Yeah. However, Deuteronomy 28, 1 to 14 was a list of blessings, but you see how short that was and succinct in comparison to the detailed list of curses, because ultimately he was a high wager. The Lord gave up everything for us, man. He took us from being a no people, literally 70 souls going into the land of Egypt, yeah, during the time of Joseph and them, and that generation died. Jake just started going off. So we spent over 400 years in captivity in Egypt, man, as a nation, all 12 tribes. And unto this day, Esau Edom has got his neck, his leg on our neck, man, his knee on our neck, I should say, even trying to choke us out. But ultimately, the Lord is going to have mercy, man, upon an elect. The Lord, despite all of that, the Lord is going to have mercy upon an elect group of men. Fucking hell, Satan. Oh, accidentally turned the orientation of the phone around. The Lord is going to have mercy on a select group of men, man. And it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time. Yahweh Bashim, Yahweh Shai Bashim Rukakadash will not allow his men, man, his nation even, I should say, to be forsaken. Because despite all of that, the Lord Yahweh Bashim, Yahweh Shai is still ultimately going to choose Israel and set us in our own land. Isaiah 45 and 17. But Israel shall be saved in the Lord Yahweh with an everlasting salvation. You shall not be ashamed nor confounded, world without end. Because we're still the Lord's people, man. And the Lord will still have mercy upon us. Isaiah 14 and 1. For the Lord Yahweh will have mercy on Jacob, and will yet choose Israel, and set them in their own land. And the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. Yeah, so the Lord is going to, at the end of all of this, still perfect us, and still beautify us. Despite the fact that, brothers are out here in the UK suffering, in the US, Babylon suffering, across Europe suffering, even in the interiors of Africa suffering, wherever we're at, Asia suffering, yeah, America suffering. But the Lord is going to still choose his elect first and foremost and deliver us from the four corners of the earth, man. And the people shall take them, verse 2 in Isaiah 14, and bring them to their place. And the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord Jehovah for servants and handmaids. And they shall take them captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. We're going to have ours back, our own back over these heathen, especially Esau Edom. The first day of having these Edomites in captivity is going to be fucking sweet. Verse 3, and it shall come to pass in the day that the Lord Jehovah shall give thee rest from
thy sorrow, and from thy fear, and from the hard bondage that thou was made to serve. That thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon, being America, and ultimately not above Trump. You're talking about the elite Zionist Amalek families that rule America, and ultimately are the real shadow government behind Trump. And it shall come to pass in the day that the Lord Yahweh shall give thee rest from thy sorrow, and from thy fear, and from the hard bondage wherein thou was made to serve, that thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon, and say, how hath the oppressor ceased? The golden city ceased. Whew. The Lord hath broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers. He who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke, he that ruled the nations in anger is persecuted, and none hindereth. And the whole earth, like it goes on to say in verse 7, is going to be at rest, man. Israel's going to be back on top. And Yahweh Hashem Yahweh is our Lord willing, man, that be a time that we all enjoy and get to take part in, man, directly. May the Lord Yahweh Hashem Yahweh have mercy upon us. Lord willing, Yahweh Hashem Yahweh we be members of the elect, so we get the blessing to see that day. And to the next time, I say, Kwam Yashala, Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Barakatham, Kwam Yashala, Barakat, Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Barakatham, Shalom.